Come on in. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Annette and this is a vintage splendor. I thought it was about time to do a home tour. You guys know I know how to mix it up and style vintage high and low, my wardrobe, and my house is just as fabulous. So I want to give you a quick little tour of a few of the spaces just so you can kind of get a vibe of where we live and where the magic comes alive. So our house is a 1959 mid-century modern ranch, and we bought it from the original owner, and we literally bought the worst house in the worst condition on a cute street. And Alan and I think we were wearing rose-colored glasses because even though we knew she was a fixer-upper, we didn't realize how much work she needed. She has amazing bones, but she needed quite a facelift, and I'm going to share some of the before pictures of our house, and then you can kind of get an idea of what we decided to do to update. But essentially we wanted to keep the integrity of the original architecture of the house because it is mid-century modern, but we wanted to update it to make it practical for modern living and for our family. And because you know I love a good vintage find, 80% of everything in our house is vintage or secondhand. There are only a few modern pieces that I bought because we couldn't find the right piece on the secondhand or vintage market. So this is our entryway. So cool fact is when we toured the house, this was actually a planter for plants, but we didn't need a planter in our entryway. We didn't want to take it out because it's part of this amazing fireplace that spans both the living and the dining room. So Alan built this amazing teak wood slat bench, and that way, you know, I can hang out here looking glamorous, and I show myself hanging out here on the regular. But if you are a parent, then you know you always need a space where the kids and even you can throw stuff down and as soon as you walk in through the door. And one of my favorite parts of this house was this amazing frosted glass entry, so it actually slides open. It's not a traditional door. And let's go into the kitchen, but first I gotta point out these two rugs that I found at Brimfield Flea Market. It's outside of Boston. One of the best experiences ever. And here is a mashup of a Target find, Facebook Marketplace, this is Anthro, but everything else here is vintage, or we bought it at an art gallery. And something I love to collect is anything shell themed. I love cool little pedestal dishes and catch-alls like this just for accent pieces, decorating. You can throw matchsticks in it, you can put your jewelry, you can give it as a gift. And then this is our kitchen. So when I talked about updating our house for modern living, this kitchen was the first place that we updated. We opted for IKEA and semi-handmade, and yes, I'm gonna talk us up a little bit here, but when we updated our kitchen 8 years ago, not a lot of people had used semi-handmade, so we went out and we worked with the team. They were amazing, and now I get about 2 to 3 inquiries a month from people wanting to replicate our kitchen. If you Google mid-century modern kitchen renovation, this kitchen pops up because we were able to take all of the original elements and just make it modern. So if you do have questions about updating your mid-century modern kitchen, or if you have questions about renovating a kitchen with semi-handmade, I will drop in links because we learned so much in the process. And again, like, I love this kitchen. It's super functional. I can look into the dining room and into our patio. I can look into the entryway, and it's just like the gathering space of your family, right? And that's how it works for us. So I think it's really important to have a home that's really practical, very functional for your life, that celebrates family, that is also very design forward. I think that's so important to always prioritize what your aesthetic is, because your home is where you want to feel comfortable. And something that we decided to do a while back is to have an art board. So instead of having kids' artwork like all over the house, we have a special designated spot. And this way, Harley and Violet are part of the process. They can say, hey, this is what I'm proud of, and we're gonna put it up here and we celebrate it. And she can decorate her room or her sister's room with artwork, but in our house, this is where all of the best artwork goes. And we again celebrate the creativity. It's beautiful enough to be displayed for everyone, and I love having everything in an organized way. Even though I'm kind of a maximalist, and you guys know I love to just style things on the whim. And something I do want to point out, like one of the best art finds that I ever found, and this is a small teeny tiny oil of Notre Dame. I found it at Montmartre. I know that's a Paris like tourist trap, but I found an artist and I said, he was doing very small sketches, and I said, could you do something of Notre Dame for me? Very, very unique, and if you could use like oils, I just want something very special. And he did this for me on the spot, and it was $20. This is our super colorful living room. This is our living space, our gathering space. This is where we like to hang out as a family. I guess Hey does not want to hang out right now, but we also love to snuggle up and, you know, catch my latest episode of YouTube. If you are not watching me on YouTube with your family, what are you doing with your life? But this is another space where it was designed to be super functional, but working with all of the vintage pieces that I had. So the credenza was actually here when we toured this house, and I asked the homeowner to leave it behind, and I didn't know what was inside, and it actually had a whole recording stereo system in it that didn't work. So we ended up cleaning it all out and making it into a storage unit for our TV. This sectional is the latest piece that we got because we knew we were gonna have another baby, and I just really wanted something that we could each have our space and just get really comfortable, but every other piece in here is vintage. So I found these Danish teak vintage chairs through a really funny story. Alan's from Michigan. When we used to go visit his hometown, there was the cutest vintage shop there, and I became Facebook friends, like personal Facebook friends with the owner. And one day he put up these chairs and he was selling them for I think $40, and I jumped at the chance. I said, can you send these to me? This is before the time of Facebook Marketplace. And he said, sure, I'll wrap them up and I'll put them on a Greyhound bus for you. The Greyhound ticket for these two chairs cost $80, but the chairs were $40, and I was like, we could not find a deal like that in LA. You would spend at least $1,500 for two chairs. So I said, send them my way, and they're beautiful. They're so comfortable, and I love that it has a tie-in back to Alan's hometown. So the first thing I bought when we moved into this house is this glass and brass coffee table. I found a seller on Etsy, and the price was so cheap, and he was willing to deliver it for free from Arizona because he was doing a big delivery to a very bougie interior designer on the west side, and he's like, I'll just drop this off on the way to drop off all of the goods. And I have to say, it has been one of the most durable pieces of furniture we have had with two kids. And people are like, you can't have glass, you can't have nice things. Glass is so easy to clean up, and we've had this for 10 years and it's absolutely beautiful. And I have to say, one of the things I believe in is you should not compromise style just because you have children. So while I display everything that I love, once in a while something will break. These candlesticks, each one has been broken by a different child. Thank goodness for E6000 glue, but I love having everything around. I think kids like it. We don't live in a museum, and I want to be able to sit in my house and really appreciate everything that I found. So this rug is 100 years old. I found it at the Rose Bowl flea market, and it's been in a few spaces in our house. It first started here in the living room, then it went in the dining room, and then it came back into the living room. I love that it's worn in the right places. It has a beautiful color to it, and it's really soft. So when Violet was a baby, when Harley was a baby, they could crawl around on it. And again, I'm not worried about something getting dirty because it's easy to wipe up, and I love how this like peachy coral balances out this emerald green. It's just one of my favorite color combinations. So I'm really easy to shop for when it comes to gifts, because if I like anything designer, if I like jewelry, I buy it myself. So then when I see cool vintage furniture, I send it to Alan. I had gone vintage shopping in Highland Park. This was about 10 years ago. And then I sent Alan a photo of these chairs and I said, this is what I want for our first anniversary. And he bought them. They're amazing. They are leather and they have the linen top, but then you could actually flip over the cushion. And just over time, they've gotten so comfortable. And I like to put my feet up here. We have our fireplace, and this is where I have my morning coffee. Our dining room has gone through a few updates. When we first moved in, I had these amazing dark berry vintage chairs, and over the years they got really worn out. And during the pandemic, when everybody was updating their house, I tried to get them reupholstered, and the prices I was getting were so crazy. And then I happened across this really great vintage shop on Etsy, and I was able to get these amazing 80s chrome base vintage chairs plus these 60s pencil reed wrap chairs with shipping for under $1,000, and that is again incredible. I think the quotes I got to reupholster our berry dining chairs were $3,000. So it was a no-brainer for me to just update and just zhuzh up the place on the cheap. Again, I love mixing different decades. These are 80s, 60s, and then one of my favorite pieces is this statement chandelier. This is by one of my favorite interior designers, Jonathan Nadler. He loves color, I love color. And we wanted something that literally filled this space that was a statement. And so we bought this, and then over the years, I've added in a lot of different artwork. Something you'll notice about our house is there's a lot of artwork here. Alan and I both love art. We love visiting museums, we love visiting galleries, and we just love the process of collecting art. And I actually used to work as a gallery director, so our art collection is a mix of stuff I found at estate sales, thrift stores, flea markets, galleries, and private collections. This is probably one of my favorite pieces I picked up from a vintage shop. She specializes in a lot of vintage and contemporary art, and this great story. So I went to the flea market with my sister. She saw this gorgeous nude sketch and she picked it up for $75. The artist is Faye Singer, and the seller told us, oh yeah, she's a very prominent artist. And then we get home and then we look up her work. Everything's going for thousands of dollars. The next time I go to the Long Beach flea market, I was with Beth, B. Jones Style, and then I spotted this and I said, I love the colors. This is such a cool piece. And the seller says, oh, it's a Faye Singer. You could have it for $100. I don't know. I think she's an important artist or something. Again, I look online, I look at different galleries and collectors. They're selling it for thousands of dollars. So I love that my sister and I have two very distinct pieces by the same artist. They're very, very different. And it goes to show you that you can still find incredible pieces at flea markets and at thrift stores. And nothing has to have a signature. It doesn't have to be important. So as long as you're drawn to something, you have the budget for it, buy it, because just like look at how much like excitement and personality this artwork adds to this space, especially since I've gone a little bit more neutral with the rest of our decor. So this bar cart is one of my oldest vintage finds from the flea market. I think I paid $10 for it at Melrose Trading Post. This is before flea marketing and thrifting was cool. Got this, I think, even before Alan and I were engaged. And as you can see, it holds all of my vintage glassware. I have a thing for vintage glassware. I love it. And then got some artwork, and this cool thing is Alan's telescope. So this is the hobby he's picked up, and it's a very passive hobby. So he decides to take this out every night to look at the stars. Thankfully, he doesn't drag me out of bed to look at the stars. This credenza, another mid-century modern piece, and again, I wanted to add a little bit of character, so I found this antique olive oil jug. Now, these are really popular now. Found this at the flea market, and I just think it really balances it out. And then I added in the 80s lamp, so the pair is upstairs, and then some cool postmodern sculptural pieces. And something I have to say is I love collecting candlesticks because they work for every occasion. I have a lot of brass ones, and then years ago I started collecting glass and crystal ones because they just add a very modern touch, and I love to use them for the holidays. This is our library and office. So when we did our upstairs project a few years ago, we reconfigured a giant room and turned it into our bedroom, our closet, our bathroom, and then we had enough space to do a little built-in office space. And then we decided to add bookshelves because our staircase is super wide. So you can see we've got this beautiful lucite and brass handrail, which I had Alan build, and then this is a gallery wall. And I know the former gallery director in me laughs at gallery walls because that's the way that we used to hang artwork that was not the best, but I do love it at home because I think it's a really great way to showcase your family or certain obsessions. For us, we collect vintage travel maps from everywhere that we've traveled. So that's what you'll see up here. And then on the opposite side is Alan's collection of books. I have my shoes, he has his books. This space looks familiar because this is our bedroom, and as you can see, it's a haven and very, very cozy. I really wanted a moodier, darker room so that when I come here at night and I'm reading a book or just waking up in the morning, it just feels really, really nice. And I absolutely love it. Something that we did different was we also painted the ceiling. Usually people love to have a white ceiling. I went super like monochrome, and every surface of this room is the same color. So the first thing we got for this room was this bed. I absolutely love it. We needed a king size bed for our room because it's so wide, and the problem is a lot of vintage beds don't come in a king size. So this I actually got from CB2, and they had it for a very short time because I felt like as soon as it became available, I bought it, and a month later they discontinued it. We love it. But everything else in this room is vintage or secondhand. I found these really great nightstands on Facebook Marketplace, and Alan and I drove together for an hour and a half to pick them up. I met the lady, super sweet, and she just wanted to get rid of them, and they fit perfectly with our room. As you can see, the artwork behind me, I have spent the last 3 years collecting it, and I wanted it to be, again, a little bit moody. I wanted it to have just a very, very familial feel. So it's a good mix of nude sketches, which I love, some watercolors, some oil paintings, and these I found at estate sales, thrift store, or at the flea market. This is where I glam up every day. Another vintage piece that I found, this one I found in Palm Springs. It was kind of a funny story to get it back because we had to cram it. There was pieces that were sticking next to Harley, but then we put cushions in between her and this desk while we were driving back. But I found it at such a great deal at a vintage shop that I absolutely wanted to have it. It's a vintage desk, but it's perfect for fitting my makeup, my jewelry, and then all of these essentials. I always mention this, I love mixing decades, and I don't think you have to marry a particular style. So this is 1960s. This chair, this is a bentwood chair. The style has been around for over 100 years. These are 80s lambs, so it all just works. It comes together really nicely. So I always tell people, just go for it. If you love it, pull it together. As long as you have a vision and an overall aesthetic you're going for, it doesn't matter what the style or what the decade is, it's just gonna work so well together. Speaking of antiques, this is a beautiful hand-painted Danish bench, and I bought it from my friend. She has an incredible vintage and antique shop in Hudson Valley. When she shared it, I had to have it, and again, it just like pulls everything together in this room. Again, the whole vision for our room was very moody. I wanted to be a space that I just feel like hugs me, and I wanted every piece to feel collected and to feel special. And just like how I like to mix my metals, my gold and my silver and my bronze, I think you can mix different color wood tones in a space. I have black, I've got bamboo, I've got a walnut, I've got rattan. I have everything happening, and then I've added texture with the artwork, and I really wanted to brighten this space. So that's why I opted for the white curtains. And as you can see, all of the curtain rods are brass and lucite. I had Alan custom make those. I had a vision in my head, and I made him figure out how to make it a reality, and every single room in our house actually has a variation of these brass and lucite curtain rods. They're so beautiful. My bedroom is my cozy space, and our bathroom is my haven. And we finished our upstairs project about 3 months before everything shut down for the pandemic, so it was perfect timing. And I always knew I wanted a bathtub so that I could soak in at the end of the day with a glass of wine, or listening to my podcast, or reading a book. And pretty much everything is new in this space, of course, because we built out the bathroom from the ground up, but some of the accents, like this rug, vintage, I wanted a piece just to ground the space and to tie in the tile work that we got, which is from fire clay tile as well as the pattern tile. I think this color combination is one of my favorites. I love this really, really soothing green, again with the pattern play that's happening with the tiles. And you know, that's where the magic happens. That's my closet. I have a tour, which I will link below in the description. It's very fabulous. Trust me, you don't want to miss that tour. That's it for the home tour. I also want to let you know that we are finally going on vacation. I've been talking about Tokyo and Kyoto and Osaka for so many months that we are heading there. So when we are gone, I am not going to be sharing any videos. So this is the last one for August, and I will be back in September with a brand new video. In the meantime, please be sure to like and subscribe. And if you miss me, just go back to some of the old videos and watch. I'll see you soon. Bye.